Hello, RMJ Movie Reviews back again. And now I'm coming with another crime movie review. And controversial choice that I chose this time. Real controversial. 8mm from 1999, starring Nicolas Cage, Joaquin Phoenix, James Gandolfini. Directed by another controversial director in the film world, Joel Schumacher. Falling Down, Lost Boys, and of course, the infamous Batman and Robin, because we know everybody loves Batman and Robin. Oh my God, 8mm. Well, this review's gonna be a little bit long because you guys know that I love to talk about kind of my personal nostalgic attachments, my memories of these films, and then also I like to talk about the films themselves. So I'm just kind of trying to blend the two. But 8mm is controversial for one thing. Number one, the subject matter. Number two, this came out at a time before Nicolas Cage was really like a punchline of like doing these horrible red box. Well, now they're red box direct to DVD movies, but at the time, Nicolas Cage was making a rise as an action star, which throughout the 80s and the early 90s, he was a character actor with, of course, you know, Raising Arizona, Wild at Heart, and then he did The Rock. And he just, after he did that Bruckheimer movie, Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer movie, you know, then he did Con Air, then he did Face Off, which Face Off is the shit. I still love Face Off, you know. Tiny nitpicks now, but I still love Face Off. And Cage was just on a roll at this time, you know. The film, in my opinion, I remember this film came out when I was 17 years old. I was a junior in high school. And like all of us guys at that time, we were like on, most of us were like on, everybody in high school was like on a Nicolas Cage kind of high, you know, because he was doing those action pictures and Snake Eyes, and, you know, he was doing a lot of big movies at this time. And then 8mm came out and kind of, number one, the thing that I find strange in retrospect now is that people were confused as to, in particular, my fellow male high school classmates were confused about what the movie was. Now, I remember when I saw the trailer for it, you know, in my opinion, I thought it was actually quite clear what the movie was about. Was that Nicolas Cage is a private investigator, and a rich widow wants him to see if this film where this girl is murdered whether the girl was actually murdered in the film or not. If this snuff film is authentic. For me, at 17 years old, I thought the trailer was pretty clear, but apparently some of my high school classmates didn't think it was very clear, and some people thought when they said 8mm, they were talking about a gun. I don't know anything about guns. I thought they were 9mm, but I don't know if they have 8mm guns. I don't know. I could be wrong, but either way, I mean, to this day, it still boggles my mind that the 8mm in the title is talking about the snuff film. That's the whole storyline, and it still boggles my mind that guys in my class went to go see the film, hated it, and goes, "What's 8mm? I thought they were talking about a gun." It's like, bro, do you know what the movie's about? The movie, when the credits open, there's some anonymous figure watching a film. It starts with a roll of film. I don't know, people. I guess just because I'm such a film buff that I see the obvious. I don't know. People are retarded. Okay. All that to say, I did not go see 8mm at the theater when it came out. I actually did not see the film until it was released on home video at Blockbusters, and I rented the film. And what I thought was funny at the time, I was 17. Or maybe I might have just turned 18. No. I was 17. It was the summer I was 17 when it came on video. I just thought it was funny how like the guy at the video store was like, "Are you old enough?" Like, that's so funny. This movie is so graphic. And I do remember too that 8mm wasn't out really long. I remember it opened at number one. I can still remember because I saw it on the E network when I used to watch a lot of E before the Kardashians was on there, when they used to talk about movies and stuff. And I remember I was watching on E! Entertainment Television. It opened up number one. And then I remember after that, it just kind of just faded away. And I remember a lot of people really hated it at the time. I can really only remember... I remember some of the reviews saying it was okay. And then I remember Roger Ebert gave it a good review. And I even also remember at the time, it left the theater so quick that I wanted to go see it at the Dollar Movie, because that's how it would go. It would go to this particular Dollar Theater that we had. And this Dollar Theater is closed now. But I remember even at the time, it didn't even go to the Dollar Theater. It went straight from the regular theater right to video a couple months later. But either way, when I finally saw 8mm on video, I wasn't disappointed by the film. I thought that it could have been better. But I thought it was an okay. I mean, I clearly went in with the mindset that it was gonna be like a thriller kind of a movie. I didn't think it was gonna be this action film that everybody expected from Nick Cage at that time. I will say, I think the subject matter is a pretty cool idea. You know what I mean? The idea of this girl being murdered on film, is it real or is it not? And Nicolas Cage is a private investigator to see if it is real. And he goes into the pornography underworld to investigate snuff films. I think it's an awesome concept. And also the film was written by Andrew Kevin, I think Walker is his name. He wrote Seven. Supposedly him and Joel Schumacher in the studio had a falling out and he disowns the film, but he still got a writing credit, so he still got his check. So I do not think Joel Schumacher is a horrible director. I think what he was told to do with the Batman franchise was a sin, and Batman and Robin was just atrocious, and he knows that, and everybody else who made that movie knows. But I don't think he deserves the hate that he gets, and I don't think this movie deserves the hate that it gets. I think if there's any one sin, I think that's the problem with 8mm, is I feel that the film plays it safe. That's my particular issue. And also, looking at it again now versus 17 when I saw it, and now watching the film at 33 years old, I still kind of, I feel that it doesn't take enough risk. Yes, they've got, you know, kind of Nicolas Cage and Joaquin Phoenix going to these seedy places where people are wearing S&M leather and jacking off to nasty stag kinky movies, and you're seeing these like supposed snuff films that turn out to be fake, where like chicks are getting gang banged and then chopped up with machetes and stuff, and it is effective in making you kind of feel like ew. So it's effective in that sense. Kind of the problem I have though is, like, number one, the film does take a little bit of risk with that kind of stuff I just mentioned, and it does make you feel a little icky, but it still just doesn't feel like it. I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it takes enough risk to me. And also, the movie goes exactly where you expect it to go. I can tell you the movie right now, just quickly. Nicolas Cage looks at a snuff movie. He looks through some missing children's places. He meets up with the people who knew the girl. He goes to a pornography shop, meets up with a guy who knows about the pornography scene in LA. Then they find the guy who made the movie and another guy who casted the girl, and then they find the guy who murdered him, and Nicolas Cage kills all of them. That's pretty much the movie in a nutshell. And that's my problem with it. It just kind of goes by the numbers, and it doesn't really surprise you. You know, as far as the first act and the second act with Nicolas Cage doing the investigating, I mean, it didn't bother me because I knew it was a detective movie. The movie picks up, obviously, in the second half when you meet Peter Stopmore, I think, isn't it? The guy from Fargo. And he kind of hams it up a little bit when Nicolas Cage first meets him. But I will say, when it comes to the actual physical conflict in the movie, where Nick Cage is up against Dino Velvet, Eddie Poole, and Machine, the menace factor definitely gets up to a level where it should have been, I think, most of the movie. Nick Cage here is, I think I like his performance. think it's a little uneven. There's a little bit of kind of, you know, again, this is in the face-off age. This is face-off Nicolas Cage, you know, 90s Nicolas Cage. So he does a little bit, like particularly where the girl's getting killed or she gets slapped in the film, and he kind of does this thing in the chair, and I was kind of like, But Cage is good here when he has to turn on, and he's very low key in this film. You know, he only does the little face off stuff here and there, the over the top stuff, but he's very subdued in this film, and I like how subdued he is. I particularly like the scenes where he's talking to the girl's mother, the murdered girl's mother. I really like those scenes. I like a confrontation that he has with James Gandolfini in the actual place where they murdered the girl. Very good confrontation in that scene, because that's the moment where Nicolas Cage turns. You know, that's when he has the choice between do I just beat the guy up? I can't turn the guy in because they've destroyed the film. So now I'm going beyond what I am, which is a basic family man detective, you know, taking pictures of people who cheat on their wives, and now I'm turning into a killer. That's when he has to make that choice. I love that moment. Roger Ebert talked about it in his review too, when Nicolas Cage, and I love this scene, I really, really love this scene, is where Nicolas Cage cannot kill James Gandolfini, so he calls up the dead girl's mother and tells her right on the phone that, hey, 3 men murdered your daughter and they buried her in the woods. I need your permission to punish them. Please give me permission. And the mother is crying on the other line. I mean, she's crying. Her eyes are coming out. That scene is rough, man. That's a tough scene, man. And I really like it because I agree with Roger Ebert, like he said in his review. That's just a different kind of scene you don't see in these kind of movies, in a revenge style movie. That scene was tough, man. I really enjoy that scene. There's another thing I like. After Nick Cage murders James Gandolfini, and it's just a quiet moment. He's on the airplane, and the camera kind of slowly tracks in on Nick Cage's face. And he turns and looks in the camera, and he's got this look in his eye like he's just shell-shocked. I mean, I mean, it's pretty chilling. The look in Nicolas Cage's eye in that scene is spot on perfection of acting to the fullest. I love that quiet little moment. I also like the little hints that, you know, people who are these psychopaths, you know, the film has a very chilling answer, is that these guys, there is no reason for why they are the way they are. They just are like that. They are not built like normal human beings. They are built to like things that just a normal, well person would not like to kill somebody. Chilling scene. The character, and actually all 3 of them are very chilling characters. Dino Velvet is just, he's particularly, like I said, in the scene where the final physical confrontation comes, Peter Stopmore, when he says the line, you're gonna go get the film, because if you don't, because they've got Joaquin Phoenix hostage, we're gonna kill him, fuck him, and film it. Just gross. James Gandolfini, I think he had just started the first season of Sopranos when this film came out. I get the impression that James Gandolfini was taking a paycheck here. I think he played this type of character a lot more scarier in True Romance, which I think I might talk about that film later. But Gandolfini was doing this role in his sleep by the time this movie came up. But again, appropriately sleazy. You know, Eddie Poole is just a guy who's just a low-level scumbag. He's just out for money. He ain't no killer. He's just a dude who will do whatever he has to do for money. So if he has to sell his dead mother's body, he'll do it. You know, he'll sleep with his sister if he has to, if he'll get paid for it. He's just that kind of a guy. You know, Dino Velvet and Machine are psychopaths. I'd really more call Eddie Poole probably more just a sociopath, in the sense that he just does not care. He's just totally about self, and he'll do whatever he has to do. He won't kill, but he'll go outside the law to do whatever he has to do to make money. What I also like too is that the film really has a very dreadful, gloomy tone to it. It just feels, even in the day scenes, even like when Nicolas Cage is with his wife and his baby, who's the actress from 40-Year-Old Virgin too. It just feels just really gloomy. Even the scenes when they're in Miami and in Hollywood, it just feels there's just this tone that just something is not right. I wouldn't say it's pure dread. I will say towards the end of the film, once Nicolas Cage meets up with the three murderers, that's when the tone of dread kicks in. But it has a very just kind of just really unsettling, just you are not safe kind of tone. But the problem is, for me, is like I said, the movie goes exactly where you think it's gonna go. And I think it just doesn't take enough risks. I mean, I would have liked for them to have pushed it a little bit further, kind of with the showing the personality of this psychopath, this machine, this Dino Velvet. And also, I listened to the commentary track for this movie, which is hard to believe that this movie even has a commentary track on DVD. But Joe Schumacher says there's another version of the film that's like 3 hours. And I guess like in the movie, like Nicolas Cage meets up with a runaway that's just like the girl who's murdered in the film. I would have loved, that would have been really cool if they could have kept that in the movie. Because I think it definitely would have added a little bit more meat to it. But I will say, that's what I really like about the film. I love the actual concept. I love the dramatic scenes between Nicolas Cage and the girl's mother. I just really love those quiet scenes. They're really nice. And I like kind of the dreadful tone of kind of the last part of the second act and the third act of the film. But I can understand why it didn't do well when it came out. The subject matter is too lurid. And, you know, it's not a fun night at the movies, man. I mean, it's just not, you know. I think 8mm is more of a film that plays well at home, maybe on your flat screen. But now me, I could watch this thing 150 times just because I'm a filmmaker and I'm dissecting it and I can appreciate the good in it. I mean, if you're an average viewer, probably after you see the chick get cut up in the movie, you're probably just done. And by the time Nicolas Cage actually starts going to the S&M clubs and stuff, and you know, finding supposed rape films and kiddie porn, I mean, I'm pretty sure like half the audience is just like, I'm done, you know. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I could say about 8mm. I don't think it's a bad film. I just think that it doesn't take enough risks, and I don't think the journey, I don't think the payoff is worth the journey, you know, because really just comes down to it's just kind of Nicolas Cage walking around talking to people, you know. Although for me as a viewer, I was fascinated by the missing children and talking with the victims. I thought that stuff was cool. It's just that I think for just a general audience that's not enough to give a payoff for how good the concept is. So that's about really all I have to say about 8mm. I think Nicolas Cage's work and his acting in the movie, pieces of it, although I feel it's an uneven performance, I don't think Nicolas Cage is given enough credit for some of his work in this film. And I think all the actors are solid, you know, aside from little stuff Cage does with the face-off flailing and Peter Stoppmore with some of his Fargo-esque kind of psychopath acting. And Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix gives a really relaxed, laid-back performance in this movie. I forgot about him. I really like his character. And it was shocking when his character got his throat slit. That kind of like jacked me up when I first saw it, because I wasn't sure if he was going to get killed or not, but I wasn't expecting it to come when it did. And actually in the commentary track, Joe Schumacher says that his death was like a lot more like bloody and nasty, and I wish they would have kept see, that would have helped, you know, if they would have just kept the original prosthetics with the blood and gore. I think that would have made it tougher, you know, and that's kind of my thing. I don't feel the film is as tough as it should be, but you know, 8mm, I think it's good enough. and it does the job of a seedy kind of thriller. Could have been better, you know. But the problem is this was released by a major studio, so they weren't gonna push the envelope as far as they could. So, but definitely, I think definitely an underrated movie from when Nicolas Cage was big in the '90s. And I think unfairly bashed. I think it's got like a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's really unfair. So that's all I got to say about 8mm, guys. I've decided that my next crime movie reviews, I just keep going with these crime movie reviews. I'm like stuck in this right now. I decided I'm going to review Sea of Love with Al Pacino and Ellen Barkin and John Goodman from, I believe that's 1989. I really love that film. You guys, subscribe to my channel, thumbs up, and please let's exchange some comments about 8mm. Some stuff that I missed, because I really think this film is unfairly criticized and bashed. You know, so please guys, leave some comments about 8mm. Anything I missed, talk about the feud between the writer and the studio and Joel Schumacher. Anything I might miss, let's just talk about 8mm and why it's hated. So that's my review of 8mm, starring Nicolas Cage. RMJ Movie Reviews. I'll be back with the next review of Sea of Love. I will see you soon, folks.